I've spent a lot of time lately thinking about why it feels so hard to just sit still. Why every time there's a 5 second gap in my day, standing in line, waiting for a game to load, or even just sitting at a red light, right? My hand instinctively goes for my phone. It's like a reflex. And the more I've looked into it, the more I realized we're all paying a price we didn't sign up for. We're living in a world designed to keep us in a state of endless dopamine, and it's costing us everything we need most to be men of purpose, our focus. If you've ever played a game with like a gacha mechanic or those mobile games that give you constant stream of tiny, tiny rewards for doing almost nothing, you know the feeling. It's the hit of like a new item, a level up, or a daily reward every few seconds. It feels great for a minute, but after an hour you realize you haven't actually played the game. You've just been chasing the next, red button or some notification or whatever. And that's what our real lives have become. We're grinding for likes and views and notifications, but our actual character stats, our discipline, our relationships, our faith, they aren't leveling up at all. Now, I used to think that scrolling through social media or binging a show was just relaxing. I told myself I was just decompressing after a long day. But I'm learning that the true reset and dopamine hits are not the same thing. In fact, they're actually opposites. The one restores your soul and the other just drains your battery while keeping you awake. I realized this was a problem when I found myself unable to pray for just 5 minutes without my brain just itching to grab my phone. I felt like I was losing my edge. I felt sluggish, distracted, and honestly a little bit numb, right? The Bible has a really interesting way of describing this state of mind. In 1 Peter 5, verse 8, it says, be sober minded, be watchful. Your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. Now, when I used to hear the word sober, I only thought about alcohol. But being sober minded is having clarity about being the one in control of your own head. When we are constantly flooded with dopamine for short videos, the hubs, or endless gaming, we aren't sober. We're intoxicated by our own brain chemistry. We're distracted, which makes us easy targets for things that want to pull us away from our responsibilities. The hidden cost of this endless dopamine is that it raises our baseline for what feels good. It's like a game where the power creep has gotten so out of hand that basic gameplay just doesn't feel rewarding anymore. When you're used to the high intensity flashes of the screen every few seconds, sitting down to, read the word or have a deep conversation with your wife or working on a difficult project feels boring. But the boring stuff is where the real growth happens. The boring stuff is the actual quest. The dopamine is just the loading music, right? The loading screen music. I'm realizing that as a man, our strength is tied to our ability to endure the grind without needing a constant pat on the back. Think about the great men in the Bible. They spent years in the wilderness. They spent years in silence. They didn't have a notification bell telling them that they were doing a good job. They had to find their reward in the mission itself. Now, I used to think that I just get easily bored, but I'm learning that I was actually just overstimulated. I had fried my own receptors to the point where I couldn't just feel love, joy, peace that the Spirit promised because I was just too busy looking for the next hit. It's like an addict, right? Now, this shows up in our discipline too. Managing your diet, staying consistent at the gym, or being present with your kids requires you to value a long term, big picture reward over a short term, right now reward. It's like choosing to save your goal for a legendary piece of gear instead of spending it all on the consumable items in the moment, right? If you can't control your dopamine, we can't build a legacy. We're just living for the next 5 minutes over and over again until we wake up 10 years later wondering where the time went. How many of you felt that you feel all these years of just passing by and it felt like you haven't moved or progressed anything? So how do we fix the input lag in our souls? I've I've started trying what some people call a dopamine fast, but I like to think of it as a digital Sabbath, right? It's about intentionally stepping away from the noise from the noise to remember what it feels like to actually be a human being, right? It's about being watchful again. I realize that if I don't guard my eyes and my ears, the world will fill them with junk. Psalm 101, verse 3 says, I will not set before my eyes anything that is worthless. How often do we check the worth of what we're consuming before we hit play? Now, I'm definitely still struggling with this. I still catch myself reaching for the phone when I feel bored. I still feel that pull to just, check out when things get hard. But I'm learning to see that the urge for what is, I'm starting to learn what that urge actually is. And it's a distraction from the boss fight. It's a side quest designed to keep me from the main story. And the main story is that God has called us to be sober, watchful, and focused men who provide and lead. You can't lead anyone if you can't even lead your own thumb away from the scroll. Now, the transformation that I'm starting to see is that when I cut back on the noise, the quiet actually starts to feel like strength rather than a void. I'm finding more joy in the small things. My prayer life feels like less like a chore and more like a conversation, as it should be. My energy at the gym feels more consistent because I'm not already mentally exhausted from 3 hours of staring at a blue light before I even get there. I even tried to gym without my own earphones in because it's just a constant whole day screens and headphones and earphones constantly blasting attention in your ears, right? We're becoming men who aren't easily manipulated by an algorithm. Okay, that's the goal, to not be manipulated by an algorithm. Now, if you feel like you're drifting, like you're always busy but never actually moving forward, this might be the reason why. The cost of endless dopamine is your presence. It's your ability to hear right now. For the people who need you. Now, I'm making a choice to stop paying that cost. I'm choosing to reclaim my focus so I can invest in things that actually matter. Now, your quest for this week is to simply just, is simple, but it's incredibly hard, right? Try to find 1 hour a day where you are completely unplugged. Okay? No phone, no TV, and no music. Just you alone and your thoughts. Okay? Start with this. Even just, it's kind of weird, but staring at a wall. Just no distractions. Just you and your thoughts. It may be scary sometimes. And once you've done that a few times, try to bring the Bible and maybe a notebook, right? and see where that leads you. See what bubbles, just what comes up to the surface when the dopamine stops flowing. It's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to feel that stamina bar hit zero. But stay in the pocket. Don't roll away. That discomfort is where you start to take back control of your own mind. Now, I'm on this journey with you. I'm tired of being a consumer. I want to be a creator and a protector and a leader. So let's stop letting the world dictate our mood and start letting the spirit dictate our focus. If you're ready to level up your discipline and get serious about who you're becoming, stick around. We're just getting started, and I'll see you in the next one.